and the floor is yours.
Good morning. My name is Chi Elder. I'm chair of the Professional Fiduciaries Bureau Advisory Committee. I'm calling this meeting to order at 10 a.m. This meeting is being held on Wednesday, June 23rd, 2001 via WebEx teleconference and webcast with no physical public locations pursuant to Governor Newsom's executive order N-2920 issued on March 17th, 2020. I would like to ask our WebEx moderator to please explain the format for this meeting.
Thank you. Today for this meeting, we will be utilizing the WebEx question and answer feature for processing of public comments. When the request for public comment is made by the chair, I will open the Q&A feature and display the following instructions. To request to make a public comment, you will locate the Q&A icon on your screen, which looks like a question mark inside of a square. You will click on that. That will open a text panel, and in the text box, you will type, "I would like to make a comment," and then submit that to all panelists. We will be taking questions in the order that they are received, and each commenter will have a 2-minute time limit. I will be providing a 30-second reminder, and at the point in time in which your time expires, I will remute your microphone and move on to the next commenter.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 2 on the agenda. At this time, I would like to ask Angela to call roll to establish a quorum.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and call the roll, and if you'll say that you're here, we'll know that you're here. Chi Elder.
Present.
James Moore.
Present.
Wendy Hatch.
Present.
Denise Nellison.
Present.
Bertha Sanchez Hayden.
Present.
And Elizabeth Ichikawa.
Present.
Thank you. With 6 members present, we have established a quorum.
Thank you, Angela. I'd like to move on to item number 3 of the agenda. I'd like to ask the committee members and Bureau staff to introduce themselves. I'm Chi Elder, chair of the advisory committee. I'm based in San Diego. I've been down here for a little over 30 years. I work in the financial industry sector, and I've been appointed to the public member seat for the advisory committee, and I'm pleased to be your chair. Thank you.
I'm Denise Nellison, and I am a licensed clinical social worker, and I've been involved in aging programs since the mid-'80s, and I'm now retired, but very interested in this area.
My name is Bertha Sanchez Hayden, and I'm the liaison on the advisory board for Legal Services Government. And I am a directing attorney at a legal service agency and have been working in this field since 2006.
My name is Elizabeth Ichikawa. I'm the supervising court investigator in Solano County, and I hold the court investigator position on the board.
My name is James Moore. I'm a professional fiduciary here in Sacramento. I do conservatorship work. Have been doing that for almost 28 years now.
Hi, I'm Wendy Hatch. I'm a licensed professional fiduciary, number 16 in fact. I'm based out of Los Angeles. Hatch & Associates formed in 1984, and I joined as a signing fiduciary in 1989, and I'm part of the advisory committee as a professional fiduciary.
Good morning. I'm Rebecca May. I'm the Bureau Chief of the Professional Fiduciaries Bureau. I started with the Bureau in 2017, but had some previous experience with the Department of Consumer Affairs before that. Prior to that, spent a long time working for the legislator and a few years in the governor's office. And I just wanted to say I'm super happy to see all these happy, shiny faces this morning. Good morning.
Hi, I'm Angela Quadra, and I'm the program analyst for the Bureau.
Fred Chanyu, DCA Legal.
Did we get everyone?
I'm Bianca Angulo. I'm the legislative analyst assigned to the Bureau.
Thank you. Did we miss anyone? Okay. Thank you. Moving on to item number 4. Please allow me to briefly address this agenda item. California law prohibits advisory committee members from discussing or taking action on any matter not on the agenda. However, this item offers an opportunity to the public to connect on items that are not listed on today's agenda. Please be aware that public comment during this agenda item should provide information to the advisory committee members and is not meant to be a discussion between the advisory committee and the public. Though this may seem at times like advisory committee members or Bureau staff are not being responsive, following these guidelines is critical to ensuring the rules of the Open Meeting Act are followed. Before the committee asks for public comment, I ask individuals making comments to not discuss pending complaints, pending licensing applications, or pending disciplinary actions that may come before the Bureau's legal counsel. Such discussions are considered ex parte communications by potentially providing information to the Bureau's legal counsel outside of the administrative record in a case. The committee strongly asks that you also respect the privacy of others by not revealing the names, other personal information, and conditions of any individual involved in any case or complaint. The advisory committee can receive complaints regarding the Bureau's processes in general, but it cannot receive comments on specific cases. If you want the committee to discuss a topic not on the agenda, you may request that item be considered for a future meeting agenda. However, a request does not obligate the Bureau to fulfill that request. If your comment is related to an item on today's agenda, please wait until we get to that agenda item. Comments at this time are only for items not on the agenda. Allow the committee sufficient time to conduct its full schedule of business. Public comments will be limited to 2 minutes apiece. Please do not duplicate or repeat the comments of a previous speaker. I will now ask the moderator to call for public comments.
This is the moderator. We have opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a comment, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen. Type "I would like to make a comment" into the text field and submit that to the panelists. Our first comment comes from Richard Calhoun. Richard, your line is unmuted and you will have 2 minutes.
My question is quite simple. How does the public learn about your upcoming Sunset Review Committee? It happens every 4 years. 4 years ago, by the time I learned about it as being a fairly active person around the Capitol and around the PFB, I was told I was too late to have input into the report that was issued. How does the public get involved at a point where the public can influence what the Bureau is doing and what little protection it provides? Thank you.
I'm not seeing any additional requests for comment. Would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, thank you, moderator. And thank you for your comments. Item number 5 on the agenda. Rebecca, please read the Bureau's mission statement.
Good morning. So to protect consumers through licensing, education, and enforcement of the Professional Fiduciaries Act by promoting and upholding competency and ethical standards across the profession.
Thank you, Rebecca. Are there any comments from the committee members? To allow the committee sufficient time to conduct its full schedule of business, public comments at the end of each agenda item will be limited to 2 minutes apiece. If there are no comments from the committee members, is there any public comment on this item?
This is the moderator. We've again opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a comment, please click on that Q&A icon on your screen. Type "I would like to make a comment" into the text box and submit that to the panelists. Seeing no requests, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, thank you. Staff, would you like to respond?
I have no comment at this time.
Thank you, Rebecca. Item number 6 on the agenda. Are there any suggested edits by the committee members to the March 10th, 2021 meeting minutes?
Hello, this is Wendy Hatch. On item number 10, the Bureau updates, it says Ms. May presented the Bureau statistics as of October 31st. I believe it should have been December 31st.
Good catch. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other comments from committee members? Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from our March 10th meeting of the advisory committee.
Thank you.
This is Fred Chan, UDCA Legal. Just for the record, could you identify yourself when making the motion?
I'm sorry, this is Wendy Hatch. I make a motion that we approve our March 10th advisory board meeting minutes.
Thank you.
This is
Do we
Jim.
have a second?
I second that motion.
I'm sorry, was that Jim?
Jim Moore. I second the motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you. Any discussion from the committee members? Any public comment?
This is the moderator. We've opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a public comment regarding the meeting minutes, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type "I would like to make a comment" into the text field, and submit that to the panelists. And seeing no requests, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, thank you. Okay, if there's no further discussion, do we need to take a vote on the meeting minutes? Rebecca?
Yes, we will.
Okay. All in favor?
Actually,
aye.
I'll do a roll call vote. Sorry about that,
Oh,
Chi.
okay. Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. This is Angela. And I just want to clarify with Wendy's edit, I looked at the report and I apologize for that error, but the statistics actually go through January 31st, not December 31st. So when I take the roll, it will be to approve the change in that section of number 10, the Bureau's update from the statistics as of October 31st will be changed to January 31st of 2021. Okay, so with a yes vote, you will be approving the minutes with that change that I have just mentioned. And I'll call you each by name. Chi Elder.
Yes.
Bertha Sanchez Hayden.
Yes.
James Moore.
Yes.
Wendy Hatch.
Yes.
Denise Nellison.
Yes.
Elizabeth Ichikawa.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And with 6 members approving yes on that vote, the minutes will be posted to the internet with that change to the date of statistics through January 31st of 2021. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Item number 7 on the agenda, I'd like to invite the Department of Consumer Affairs executive staff to present their update.
Good morning, Chair Elder and committee members, Chief May and Bureau staff. I'm Ryan Perez with Board and Bureau Relations at the Department of Consumer Affairs. And thank you for allowing me this opportunity to provide a department update. One of our top priorities in Board and Bureau Relations is appointments. And I would like to provide just a brief overview. Currently, the committee has one vacancy, a licensee appointed by the governor. DCA and all of the appointing authorities share in the goal of a fully seated, diverse, and effective committee. Filling current and upcoming vacancies is always a priority. If any members know of any great candidates, or if any members of the public are interested in serving, please find the link titled Board Member Resources on DCA's homepage to apply for an appointment. Shifting gears to COVID. COVID-19 has affected every aspect of our work for more than a year now. And California reached a major milestone on June 15th, and our economy is officially back open. Thank you to Chief Meng and Bureau staff who've been working so very hard to maintain excellent customer service through these challenging times. Bureau staff, like all state employees, made a sacrifice to assist all Californians when they continued to serve through the pandemic under a 10% pay cut. Some also foregoing cost of living increases or expected raises. The economy comes roaring back, and we're happy to see that these cuts will be reversed effective June 30th. DCA is working with all boards and bureaus to manage any budgetary impacts related to these reversions. On the topic of reopening, we know that things are moving quickly and that there's a lot of information, both official and unofficial. On June 17th, Governor Newsom signed an executive order which expedited Cal OSHA's revised COVID-19 regulations to ensure consistency with public health guidance. Cal OSHA's revisions align with the latest face covering guidance from the California Department of Public Health and eliminate physical distancing requirements, except for certain employees during outbreaks. Boards and bureaus are assessing operational needs to identify potential for permanent changes to the workplace to ensure efficiency and employee well-being, such as telework and hybrid workforce models. Additionally, DCA is receiving many questions about when and how boards and committees will be able to meet again in person, and whether they can also continue to meet remotely. The ability of the Bureau and committee to meet remotely is tied directly to the governor's executive order and the state of emergency. The executive order allowing remote meetings is set to expire on September 30th, after which time the Bureau will be required to follow all aspects of the Open Meetings Act, including publicly noticed and accessible locations, unless a change in law happens. I think we all recognize the value of cost savings and increased public participation associated with remote meeting operations. But in the meantime, DCA will do all it can to assist boards and bureaus to transition safely to in-person meetings and keep you informed of any changes to meeting requirements. During the state of emergency, DCA issued waivers to help licensees respond to the pandemic or to enable boards and bureaus to perform their functions safely. As the state fully reopens, these waivers will wind down. DCA continues to encourage boards and bureaus to look at laws and regulations that were waived, determine if changes are needed in the future, and move forward with those such changes via regulatory options or even legislative options. Although some waivers may be extended for an additional short amount of time, the waivers will be ending soon. Boards and bureaus are encouraged to move forward with statutory and regulatory changes as soon as possible. To some more administrative updates. For current committee members, 2021 is a mandatory sexual harassment prevention training, which means all employees and committee members are required to complete the training during this calendar year. Please also be advised that you will now access this training through the learning management system, which is DCA's training portal. We have created profiles for each of you in the LMS and informed your bureau chief of the steps you'll need to take to log in and access the training. Board and Bureau Relations is also happy to assist you with any questions or concerns that you may have about using the LMS. Ultimately, the LMS will house your training records and may also be used to sign up for other mandatory trainings, including board member orientation training. As a reminder, newly appointed and reappointed committee members are required to attend board member orientation training within a year of appointment or reappointment. The next training will be held via WebEx on October 13th, so members will have plenty of time to save the date. To register, please visit DCA's Board Member Resource Center located at dca.ca.gov. As always, Board and Bureau Relations is here to help, and if there's anything that we can do to assist, please reach out. This concludes my presentation, and I'll hand it back over to Chair Elder. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any comments from the committee members? If there are no comments from committee members, any public comment?
This is the moderator. We have opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a public comment, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen. Type "I would like to make a comment" into the text field and submit that to all panelists. Our first comment comes from Richard Calhoun. Richard, your line is open. You will have 2 minutes.
The public would like to know how often the DCA updates their website. Our specific concern is the DCA website /enforcement/case referral guidelines, which has a referral date of December 2017. This is in complete contrast with how the PFB has functioned. Which is correct, the published website from DCA or the way the PFB Bureau acts? Please advise the consumers and the entire population of California at some point on how accurate the DCA website is. Thank you.
Hi, this is Rebecca. Ryan, do you know if those, I believe that those referral guidelines are specific to the healing arts boards and not the non-healing arts committees, or I'm sorry, bureaus and boards, correct?
That is my understanding as well.
Thank you.
Rebecca,
Seeing
can
no-
you please repeat the answer? You kept breaking up.
I'm sorry about that. So my understanding, and Ryan confirmed, is that the case referral guidelines that are on the department's website are geared for the healing arts boards, so like medical board, behavioral sciences, and not the non-healing arts boards and bureaus like our program, like accountancy. So it's just a different, it's a different set of guidelines.
And this is the moderator. Seeing no additional requests, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, thank you. And thank you for your comments. Item number 8 on the agenda, I would like to invite the Department of Consumer Affairs Budget Office to present the budget update.
Good morning. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Good morning. My name is Paul McDermott. I am the budget analyst from the Department of Consumer Affairs. I have been the analyst for the Fiduciary Committee's budget for the last two and a half years, and I'm glad and happy to present the final budget for the fiscal year. And what I'll do is I'll go over 2 documents we talk about every quarter when we have these meetings. One will be the fund condition, and the other one will be the expenditure report. And I'll just walk through what these 2 documents are for anybody that is new. So the first document that we're looking at, if you could scroll down, moderator. This is the fund condition. And what the fund condition is a snapshot of where you are in time in your expenses, your revenues, and your bottom line. And this document reads left to right. The first column will be last year's FM13 as we finish the year. The second column will be this year's budget. Third column will be the year to date. And the fourth one is the one I always look at, which is what I project for year end. So top to bottom, at the top part, we're looking at the salaries, the benefits, all the personnel services. We have a budget of $333,000. We're looking to spend about $352,000, and it has a negative number there, but I'm not too concerned about that because as we work through the budget here,
I think we have the
in the
wrong
office.
document up on our screen.
There you go. That's the correct one right there. So on this document, we have last year's budget, last year's expenses, and here we have this year's budget. We have year to date, and then what I project it to be at year end. So we have a budget of $333,000. I'm projecting $352,000, which has to do with benefits and salaries. And we do have a negative $19,000, which I'm not concerned about because in the budget office we look at the bottom line budgeting. So we will have some negatives and positives. As long as we at the bottom are in positive, we are okay. As I walk through the operating expenses, this is just the normal operating expenses of the office, from general expenses, printing, communication, insurance, travel. Obviously, travel is nothing this year due to the COVID restrictions. To our facility rent, our internal contracts, our pro rata. As we work our way down, we have projected expenses of a budget of $244,000. We're projected to spend $210,000. That gives us a surplus down here of $33,000. And when you take the total of the operating expenses and the personal services up top, we're looking to spend $562,000 of a $577,000 budget, leaving us almost exactly where we were last time we met, about $14,000 in reversion. And down below where I have the 2.48, it's about the same as what we talked about last time. This is the percentage of your budget that is going to be reverted. When we talk about what is a good reversion percentage, anywhere from 3 to 6% is a good, healthy reversion. We're on the bottom end of this, but that's okay. Now, typically, we're about 3.5 to 4%, and there were a couple expenses this year that hit. That brought it down just a little bit, but we're right in the ballpark of where we need to be for our reversion year to date and historically. So I'm very, very confident at this $14,000 reversion and with the 2.48. Now you take that fund condition statement and we walk into, if we could go to the second document, please. Let's go to the next one.
I believe these are the only two that I have. Let me double check. Yes, these are the only two documents that I have.
Okay, so we have an expenditure document. I think somehow we got an erroneous one in here, but the expenditure document, well, I can explain it here real quick. This is your beginning. Okay, this is the fund condition. Perfect. So left to right, we're looking at previous year. Let me expand this a little higher. I'll go to the next one. All right, so that's 2019-20. We're looking at revenues on the left. This is your beginning balance. These are your revenues that came in last year, and here are your expenses coming in with a bottom line dollar figure of $633,000, leaving us roughly $265,000 in reserves, or 5.2 months in reserves. Why these months are important is that if anything happens where we don't have revenue streams coming in, we have 5.2 months in reserves based on last year's figures. So you look at this $265,000 bottom line, it starts right back up here at the beginning of this year. We go through the revenue process again. We have our revenue streams coming in here. We have the revenues expected to be $713,000 this year. You couple that with the beginning balance, and then we have a total resources of $978,000. We're projected to spend about $570,000 with internal department-wide expenses, giving us a $614,000 total expenditure with a fund balance of $364,000, or 6.4 months in reserves. And again, this dollar number will go to next year, and we'll start the whole process all over again. So the key figure here is we look at these dollar figures and these months in reserves, and a good, healthy fund condition is a fund condition that has 6 to 12 months in reserves. So again, we're at the bottom line, but we're in the good, healthy range of reserves. And this is typically where fiduciary is over the last couple of years. It goes anywhere from 5 to 6 to 7 months, just depending on where we are and depending on what we project for revenues and expenditures. So all in all, the fund condition itself is in good shape. The expenditures are in good shape. And I know going into the last month and going into month 12 that we're going to be reflecting similar numbers here. And I have extreme confidence that we will be very solid as the year ends to have this reversion that we're projecting here of $365,000 to $370,000 or 6.5 months in reserves. So if there are any questions on either the expenditure or the fund condition.
Yes, this is Wendy Hatch. Since we're on this page on the screen, I just have some line-by-line questions to ask. Under the revenues, where it says other regulatory fees and other regulatory licenses and permits, what does that actually entail for revenue?
Let me open that up so I can get that for you. I had it broken down and I have to find my document for you. I apologize. I'm just opening up another document here real quick. So the breakdown in the other revenue, regulatory licenses and permits is going to be your application fee for fiduciary, your initial license application, your prior year revenue adjustments, and then the other revenue is going to be investments, unclaimed checks, business honor checks, any warrants, outstanding warrants. And the other regulatory fees is going to be any duplicate fees or cites and fines.
Okay. And then on the other report, if we can go back to, yes, perfect. Going down to the operating expense and equipment for insurance. Last year we had it of 700, and then this year we budgeted for 0, but our year to date is going to be 995,000. Where is that insurance requirement coming from?
So this was an error that came across from accounting. So last year we had $7, and this year, as we did this expenditure, it came up as $995. This has been corrected and it's been reversed out. So when I pulled up month 11, this 995 is reversed out to 0. So your actual dollar is going to be $6 this year. So it was an erroneous charge to the account.
Okay.
So it'll actually reflect what we did last year. And this has to do with a small portion of the Office of Risk Management. When it has to do with anything with DGS, it'd be you're splitting the cost through all DGS insurance costs. So $6 is what it's going to reflect now.
Okay, and then moving down to the training line, we had a budget of $1,000. Well, 1,000. Who is that money actually geared for? Is it for, because as advisory members, we're required to take courses and training, like the sexual harassment and everything like that. Is that budget item for payment of our time, or was that just payment for our travel, or what is the training budget allowed for?
Rebecca, do you want to go ahead and address this?
Yeah, so the training, my understanding is that budget allotment is for trainings to happen through the Office of Human Resources. So it would be external to DCA training. So as you can see, we haven't spent any in that category this year, but it's good to have it there because there are trainings that do come up periodically. It was in the last couple of years where they've outsourced some of the trainings from the department to Office of Human Resources, or I'm sorry, it's Department of Human Resources. Or is it Office? I apologize. I think it's Office of Human Resources. The sexual harassment training and the other trainings that we do, those are through the Department of Consumer Affairs and covered through our pro rata.
Okay.
Thank you. That was a good question.
And then the consolidated data centers. Last year we had a budget of 930 and none was budgeted, and year to date it's not budgeted. But the projection for year end, is that again a consolidated for consumer affairs, that it's just our portion of it, or what?
I'm gonna have to allow Paul to answer this one.
Okay.
So thank you very much. So yes, we have, last year we spent $930 on consolidated affairs, and this is going to be any data processing, any systems like the CAS system, the TAS system, or in some cases it'll be the licenses for Office 365. So typically this dollar figure doesn't hit until late in the year. So even though there's $0 budgeted and $0 spent, I know there's going to be some to hit 10th and 11th month. So what I did is I took last year's dollars and I just used it as a placeholder so that I know that I have that accounted for, or a portion of what's going to come in 11th or 12th month. So this is going to be directly towards data processing and anything to do with software with the Bureau or the committee.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, this is Denise Nelson. I just had a question on the the balance for the permanent positions. What was that attributed to?
It's just, we had some, before the budget was set last year, we actually had some promotions in place and salary that were not included in the previous budget. So it just adjusted. As we go through this year coming up, we will adjust to the proper salary and increases. So we won't have as drastic an increase or a deficit right here. We'll be more in line of what we're actually spending. So the budget was set before we had the salaries change.
Thank you.
And again, also with that, it's not just the salaries and the benefits will change as well. So it was a combination of these two, the salaries and the benefits package, which contribute to that. And then part of also what we did, just to explain this too, is on the board members, you see this $2,400 placeholder. And talking to Ms. May, we held this $2,400 here because this is the maximum we would pay for any per diems for the board members. This could come down, but I just have this as a placeholder as well. So a portion of this could come down, which would reduce this negative number as well.
Do we have any other comments from committee members?
I'm sorry, this is Wendy Hatch again. But so when you're saying per diem and overlap and you're calling them for board member expenses, would that mean us as committee members?
I'm sorry. Yes, as committee members.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any other comments from committee members? Do we have any public comments?
This is the moderator. I've opened the Q&A panel. If anyone would like to make a public comment on this item, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen. Type "I would like to make a comment" into the text box and submit that to the panelists. And seeing no requests, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, thank you. Moving on to item number 9 on the agenda, I'd like to invite the Department of Consumer Affairs Legislative Office to present the budget update.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Bianca Angulo, and I am the legislative analyst from the department assigned to the Bureau. Some important dates for the legislature. May 21st was the last day for fiscal committees to meet and report to the floor bills introduced in their house. June 4th was the last day for each house to pass bills introduced in their house. June 15th, the budget bill must be passed by midnight. The legislature passed the budget on June 14th. July 14th, last day for policy committees to meet and report bills, and July 16th, summer recess will begin upon adjournment. Last meeting at the March meeting, Bureau Member Hatch asked for the difference between AB 596 by Assemblymember Nguyen and AB 574 by Assemblymember Chen to be explained. Both bills are now two-year bills, and this means that no further action will be taken during this legislative session, and action may be taken in January of 2022. AB 596 would require an attorney who determines that a conservatee or proposed conservatee is unable to communicate to report this to the court. The court will then make a determination of the inability to communicate. If it is determined that the conservatee or proposed conservatee cannot communicate, the court will discharge the attorney and appoint a guardian ad litem. AB 574 would establish an additional procedure for the appointment of a guardian ad litem for a person who lacks the capacity to make rational, informed decisions specific to medical care, mental health care, safety, hygiene, shelter, food, or clothing due to a mental illness, effect, or deficiency. This bill would also establish how a petition is filed, who may file a petition, notice provisions, and court procedures. So these two bills are not duplicative because AB 596 is specific to an inability to communicate, and AB 574 is related to the specific things I mentioned a moment ago. Additionally, they are in different sections of the probate code. These bills might get amended, but it won't be until next year that we'll see a status update on them. So for 2021 legislation related to the Bureau, I will be providing summaries for bills not discussed at the March meeting and then status updates for previously discussed bills. My status updates will be a little different than yours because I updated them this morning. AB 29 by Assemblymember Cooper. This bill would require a state body's meeting notice to include all writings and materials. This bill would require writings and materials to be posted to the state body's website 72 hours in advance of the meeting, or provided to any person who requests the writings or materials in writing. The bill would prohibit a state body from discussing those writings or materials or taking action on an item until the state body has complied with these provisions. It is a two-year bill. AB 260. This has been referred to the Senate Human Services Committee with a hearing on July 6th. AB 339 by Assemblymember Lee. This bill would require until December 31st, 2023, all open and public meetings of a city council or county board of supervisors that governs a jurisdiction containing at least 250,000 people to include an opportunity for members of the public to attend via a telephonic option or an internet-based option. This bill would require all open and public meetings to include an in-person public comment opportunity, except in specified circumstances during a declared state or local emergency. This bill has been referred to the Senate Governance and Finance Committee with the hearing on July 1st. AB 465 has been referred to the Senate Appropriations Committee. AB 574 is now a two-year bill. AB 596 is a two-year bill. AB 885. This bill would require a state body that elects to conduct a meeting or proceeding by teleconference to make the portion that is required to be open to the public both audibly and visually observable. The bill would require a state body that elects to conduct a meeting or proceeding by teleconference to post an agenda at the designated primary physical meeting location in the notice of the meeting where members of the public may physically attend the meeting and participate. The bill would require a multi-member state body to provide a means by which the public may both audibly and visually remotely observe a meeting if a member of that body participates remotely. This is a two-year bill. AB 1062. This bill would authorize a guardian or conservator of the estate to dispose of or abandon valueless property only after providing 15 days written notice and reasonable access to all persons who receive notice of the guardianship or conservatorship petition. This bill would also authorize the person who received this notice to petition the court to resolve a property right dispute. This bill has been referred to the Senate Judiciary Committee. AB 1194. This bill would require a professional fiduciary with an internet website to post a schedule of fees on their website, Professional Fiduciaries Bureau to revoke a professional fiduciary's license based upon a court finding, and the Bureau to investigate each report made to the Bureau by the court. This bill has been referred to the Senate Committee on Judiciary and the Senate Committee on Business Professions and Economic Development. And lastly, SB 602. This bill would require a conservator with 30 days of appointment and 30 days before a hearing to submit a care plan to specified persons regarding the care, custody, and control of the conservatee. This bill would require the Judicial Council to develop the care plan. This bill would impose sanctions for failure to timely submit a care plan and includes a court-imposed civil penalty of up to $5,000. This has been moved to the Senate inactive file and is now a 2-year bill. That's the end of the update.
Do we have any comments from committee members?
Good afternoon. This is Wendy Hatch. Thank you for your answer to my previous question from last meeting. I do have a question on that Senate Bill 602. When the bill that requires a conservator, does that mean also for private, professional, and public guardians to follow this act? No, 602.
Thank you. I will have to clarify with the senator's office. However, like I said previously, with the 2-year bill, amendments may be forthcoming next year, but I can ask the senator's office for clarification on the definition of a conservator.
Okay, because I know the professionals, we always have to toe the line, but a lot of private and the public guardian usually doesn't follow the rules. So I just, not that all of them are bad, don't get me wrong, but I just want to make sure that the Senate bill does clarify who the quote conservator has to file means. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any additional comments from committee members? Okay, thank you. Do we have any public comments?
This is the moderator. We have opened the Q&A panel. If anybody has a comment to make regarding any of these legislative items, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type "I would like to make a comment" into the text box, and submit that to the panelists. Our first comment comes from Richard Calhoun. Richard, your line is open and you will have 2 minutes.
Just providing a further update, AB 1062 is a 2-year bill now, and AB 1194 passed Senate Judiciary yesterday.
Our next comment comes from Jerry Desmond. Jerry, your line is open. You will have 2 minutes.
Hi, thank you. Jerry Desmond with the Professional Fiduciary Association of California, PFAC. Would like to provide a couple of thoughts on a few of the bills. First, on the report, AB 465 by Assemblymember Nazarian, the measure that will require 1 year of cultural competency for an initial license and then ongoing 1 year within the ethics or cultural competency as well. The provisions of the bill reflect discussions we've had with the author and stakeholders and others, and PFAC is supporting that measure as it moves forward. In regards to AB 1062 by Assemblymember Mathis, PFAC has concerns with one of the phrases in this bill that would require notice before the disposal of valueless property, and that is the difficulty and the challenges with the definition of what is valueless property, which is a difficult term to provide clarity on. And then on AB 1194 by Assemblymember Lowe, a measure that would enact a number of revisions to the Act and to licensure requirements. We continue our efforts to work together with the author's office and others the provisions that we are looking for would ensure that there is due process when there is action taken affecting anybody, whether licensed or not, and also provisions that ensure the appropriate role of the courts when there are court-appointed conservatorships or guardianships, and that the decision-making and discretion of the courts is acknowledged in the appropriate ways. So our efforts continue there as it passed the first committee on the other side. Thank you.
And seeing no further requests for comment, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, thank you. And thank you for your comments. Item number 10 of the agenda. Rebecca, would you please present the Bureau updates?
Thank you, Ms. Elder. So I have a fairly long update today, so everyone strap in for a bit. Let's start with the application, licensing, and enforcement statistics. They can be found in the meeting materials if you would like to follow along with me. For licensing, and this reflects this current fiscal year, which is July 1, 2020 through May 31st of 2021, we have issued 80 new licenses. We have accepted or received 85 new applications. We, as of May 31st, have 824 active licensees. And since the inception of the Bureau in 2008, we have issued 1,246 licenses. So moving along to complaint statistics, again, it's the same time frame with the current fiscal year, July 1, 2020 through May 31st of 2021, when this report was run. We initiated one case with the Attorney General. We issued 7 citations. We received 103 complaints. We closed 58 complaints. And on the 31st, we had 115 complaints pending. And as of the 31st, we were averaging 298 days to close complaints. So moving on to the second segment here, the strategic plan. So the Bureau's strategic plan serves as a roadmap for the Bureau. It defines our goals and sets corresponding objectives for meeting those goals. Our current plan spans from 2018 through 2022. So given that we are currently past the midway point, I thought it'd be a good time to review what the Bureau has been able to accomplish and what yet needs to be done. So our strategic plan is divided into 6 areas: licensure, enforcement, communications and outreach, professional education, regulation and legislation, and administration. In the meeting materials, you'll see the first area, licensure, and the 5 corresponding goal objectives set out for it. I am pleased to report that we have accomplished, or at least moved forward, on the last 3 objectives. For objective 1.3, in partnership with the department, the Bureau completed an occupational analysis in 2018. With the occupational analysis in place, the department worked with our exam developer to update the licensing examination so that it better reflects what knowledge is needed to perform professional fiduciary work. We are moving forward with objective 1.4, though due to the department's limited resources, the first phase of the project has been scaled back to online renewal payments only. But I'll touch on that a little bit more in further down in my Bureau Chief update. And as for the last objective, 1.5, this strikes me as a forever objective because we're always updating the website to make it easier to navigate and to provide useful information to the public and to our licensees. I typically provide an update during my Bureau Chief segment, and I will do that again in a bit. So as you can see, the first 2 objectives remain incomplete. At our next meeting in September, I would like for the advisory committee members to brainstorm ideas related to those first 2 objectives, 1.1 and 1.2. We will agendize those objectives at our next meeting to allow the committee members to bring some ideas forward for discussion in that particular goal area. So I hope you don't mind that I've assigned some homework, and I look forward to hearing your ideas. Moving on to our business modernization plan. So at our last meeting, I reported that the Bureau was nearing the development stage of its business modernization plan and would be able to accept online renewal payments in late 2021. Unfortunately, the project's timeline has slowed down given the redirecting of department resources to deal with staffing vacancies. I'm unable to provide a proposed launch date at this time, but the Bureau remains committed to enhancing its online presence for applicants and licensees and will continue to work with the department to see this project through. I'll continue to provide updates to the advisory committee at each meeting. Outreach events. So, of course, the pandemic continues to impact the number of outreach events attended by Bureau staff. However, yesterday I was able to connect with a very lovely group called Next Village SF. They are a nonprofit serving seniors. And Bureau staff also plan to virtually attend the Professional Fiduciaries Association of California's annual conference in August. So as always, if there are some events that you know of and you would like the Bureau to consider attending, please contact the Bureau. Moving on to our newsletter. So our most recent edition of the Bureau's newsletter went out to our interested parties email list last week. If you haven't already seen it, you can find it on the Bureau's website under the Publications tab. If you have any suggestion for the next newsletter, please contact the Bureau. And moving along to website updates. As I said earlier, we're always making small adjustments to our website, but there are a few worth mentioning at this meeting. We added a new page regarding public record acts requests, how they work, and how to submit one to our office. We are also always updating any COVID-19 related waiver information for our licensees as it changes. I also wanted to let everyone know, in response to concerns voiced during our last advisory committee meeting, we're working with the department to more accurately display the aggregate dollar amount reported by our licensees. Currently, our system limits the amount to $99 million, though some of our licensees do report managing larger estates. Given that this is considered a significant, and I'm putting in quotes, significant system modification, there are various approval steps before this project can be addressed. And once approved, it goes into the queue behind other department projects. So, which is a long way for me to say we are working on it, and I will keep you posted. And so finally, on to delays in mail delivery and receipt. And I know that this is a nationwide problem, but slowdowns and processing errors at the United States Postal Service have negatively impacted the delivery of mail to our office. So on the Bureau's behalf, the department is working with management at USPS to better understand why this is happening and how they can fix it. Because of the significant impact of this issue, the Bureau is discontinuing the use of its post office box at the end of this fiscal year, which is coming up in about a week and a half. And it is instead directing licensees and consumers to send their mail to our physical address at 1625 North Market Boulevard, Suite S209, Sacramento, 95834. We are working to remove any references to the post office box on our website, and the post office will continue to forward mail received at the post office box for 6 months after it's closed, so hopefully that will catch any misdirected mail. So if you are a licensee and any part of your renewal has been returned to you, please resend that correspondence to the Bureau's physical address and include a copy of the returned envelope. So that's all I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rebecca. Do we have any comments from committee members? If there are no comments, I wanted to ask the goals that you wanted feedback on. I think it was 1.1 and 1.2. Will you be sending? Oh, thank you. Will you be sending that to the committee members as a follow-up? Then would you like us to just provide that feedback at the next meeting or via email?
I would like feedback at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Although I do always accept emails too, but in the spirit of working with the Open Meetings Act and doing our work during the meetings. Definitely, I'm excited to hear what some ideas you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Do we have any public comments?
This is the moderator. We've opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a comment on this item, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen. Type "I would like to make a comment" into the text field and submit that to all panelists. Our first comment comes from Richard Calhoun. Richard, your line is open and you will have 2 minutes.
I'd like to call everybody's attention to the bottom of page 5 of the spring newsletter, left-hand column. I understand that's the board's position, which is the board does not conduct criminal investigations, nor can the Bureau determine whether criminal violations have occurred. That is not what the public's been asking for. The public has been asking for you to conduct a administrative investigation on what the act itself. For example, O.J. Simpson, he may have committed murder. He was not found guilty of murder in criminal court, but he was found liable for a death in civil court. There's different standards. Administrative hearings is the whole reason this Bureau was founded. With the change in the legal definition under the Penal Code of elder abuse, January of this year, there is nothing a fiduciary can do to an elder that isn't a crime. So if you're not going to investigate criminal activities, even if there's no criminal investigation going on, there is absolutely zero reason for the Bureau to exist at this point. You have to understand the difference between an administrative hearing and a criminal hearing. You can have an administrative hearing on an act that is criminal. I could steal, as if a professional fiduciary, I could steal $1 of a client's money. That should be a violation of the license. It will never be prosecuted criminally. So the Bureau needs to start doing its job and looking at the LA Times coverage back in 2005. That's why you were founded. You're a decade old now. You need to get on some pants and start cleaning up the industry. That is your entire purpose.
And seeing no further requests, would you like me to close the panel?
Do we have any comments from staff?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Calhoun, for your comment. As we've stated many times, the Bureau is not a law enforcement agency and does not have the legal authority by law to investigate or prosecute criminal acts. In addition, the Bureau doesn't have the authority to issue criminal penalties, injunctions, or restraining orders against licensees. If a consumer believes that a crime has occurred or is occurring, they should contact law enforcement. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. And thank you for your comments.
I have a follow-up comment and question for you, Rebecca. We're only gearing this towards a criminal hearing and criminal outcome. What happens and what steps could or would the Bureau take if it is found out through a civil hearing and or through a probate finding of issues? Then can they take those issues to an administrative hearing?
This is Fred Chanyu. Is this question regarding the report that's been given by the bureau chief, or is this really more like towards the disposition of administrative cases? Because if it is the latter, this is not noticed on the agenda, and a discussion of that topic may be maybe in the, outside of the what's allowed by the Open Meeting Act.
Do we still have a point on the agenda where we could request things to be added to next meeting's agenda? This is Wendy Hatch, I'm sorry.
This
Yes.
is Angela. Yes, that's at the end of the agenda where
Okay.
you can request things to be added if they were not added already.
Thank you.
Would you like me to close the public comment panel?
Do we have any other additional comments from public?
No, we have none.
Okay, thank you. Yes, please. And thank you, Rebecca. Moving on to item number 11 of the agenda. Rebecca, would you please present the status of the Bureau's proposed rulemaking?
Thank you, Ms. Elder. So I'm pleased to report there's a little bit of movement in this area. So while the inactive/retired license type rulemaking remains in the pre-review process, meaning it hasn't yet been filed with the Office of Administrative Law, the proposed client notification regulation was filed with OAL on February 23rd of this year. The initial public comment period for the client notification regulation closed on Tuesday, June 8th, 2021, and comments which were received last Friday at the hearing will be part of the rulemaking file. We are working with the department's legal counsel through the comments received. As this proposed regulation moves through the process, we will continue to notify our interested parties list at each step forward. The proposed language and supporting documentation for the client notification reg can be found on the Bureau's website. And as always, I will continue to provide updates at our advisory committee meetings.
Thank you, Rebecca. Any comments from committee members? We have no comments from committee. Do we have any comments from public members?
This is the moderator. We've again opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a comment on either of these for two regulatory packages, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen. Type I would like to make a comment into the text field and submit that to the panelists. Our first comment comes from Jerry Desmond. Jerry, your line is open and you will have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Jerry Desmond with the Professional Fiduciary Association of California. Just to note in terms of the client notification regulations, we certainly recognize the challenges that have faced the previous drafts to draft appropriately and to get across the finish line the client notification regulations that are required under state law. And PFAC has provided some written comments that are in furtherance of there being, of course, a client notification requirement, but to provide clarity for the kinds of situations that licensed professional fiduciaries find themselves in to fit the particular circumstances. And we also testified in the public hearing that was provided as well. And we look forward to seeing the final package as it's developed and takes effect. Thank you.
And seeing no additional requests for comment, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, thank you. And thank you for your comments. Staff, would you like to respond?
I have no response at this, or no comment at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Item number 12, the agenda. Rebecca, would you please present the update on the Bureau's approved rulemakings?
Thank you. So we've had another regulation change past the finish line. This one is a Section 100 change, meaning that it doesn't materially alter our current regulations. And because of that, Section 100 changes move through the process much more quickly. This particular regulation changed the Bureau's initial application form to comply with the new requirements under AB 2113, which requires programs under the department, including the Bureau, to expedite applications submitted by refugees, asylees, and special immigrant visa holders. This Section 100 change was approved by the Office of Administrative Law on March 29th, 2021, and the new application form is up on the Bureau's website. Thank you.
Do we have any comments from committee members? If no comments from committee, do we have any public comments?
This is the moderator. We have opened the Q&A panel. If anyone would like to make a public comment on this regulatory item, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen. Type "I would like to make a comment" into the text field and submit that to the panelists. Seeing no requests, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, thank you. Staff, do you have any comments?
No, thank you so much.
Thank you, Rebecca. Item number 13 of the agenda. Angela, what items have you recorded from our meeting today for consideration to be included on future agendas?
Hello. Okay, so I've recorded 2 items, and bear with me 1 second because I want to make sure that I get the first one correct. We had a request from the public to find out how the public can learn about and get involved with the Sunset Review for the Bureau with the review committee. And then also that we'll be adding from the strategic plan items number 1.1 and 1.2 for the licensing section for committee members to bring back their ideas and we can discuss at the next meeting. Those were the 2 that I have from this meeting. Was there anything that I missed or anything that the committee members would like to add?
Are there any other items the committee members would like to add?
Yes, this is Wendy Hatch. Going back to the previous section, I think it would help the public and possibly the professional fiduciary and the advisory committee that if we could discuss the Bureau's stance on taking and when they can go forward with an administrative hearing versus the criminal and versus the civil and versus the decision of a probate court. Do they have to wait until a decision is either made in criminal, civil, or probate court before they can go forward with the administrative hearing? And you know, I guess that's, if that could be established, it would help people understand that yes, they can bring a criminal, they can bring a complaint forward, but what hoops does everybody have to go through before it can be taken to the licensing bureau's review administrative hearing? I'm making sense.
Okay, Wendy, I think you are making sense, and I've written that down. I am going to ask if either Rebecca or our legal counsel have a response to that at this time.
Okay, so is this just a request for an item they put on a future agenda, or is this a request for further comment by staff? I understand this to be a request for future agenda items. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
This is Rebecca. Thank you so much for the suggestion, Wendy.
Do we have any other comments from committee members for future agenda items? This is Chi Elder. I would like to add a potential item for future agenda. Would we be able to just get a recap of the Professional Fiduciary Bureau's guidelines on or what their process is in terms of investigation versus enforcement? I think that would help me to understand a little bit more and provide more clarity for some of our participants as well.
Thank you for the suggestion.
I just want to make sure that I understood. You're saying a recap of the difference between an investigation and the enforcement process. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. I know that you guys, the PFB has a process for for enforcement. And so I'm hearing a lot of different things. And so I think it would help me to understand more fully what is the PFB's process for enforcement versus investigation, or if there's a difference. Okay.
Madam Chair, this is Fred Chen, you legal counsel. I mean, some of the items that are being requested deal with privileged matters concerning how the Bureau is going to conduct its investigations and its, in its administrative litigation against licensees. As the Bureau's legal counsel, I would recommend against discussing those items in open meeting. I do understand that there may have been some clarity issue, but however, this will entail the disclosure of privileged information, and as the Bureau's legal counsel, I would recommend against that.
Okay. Thank you, Fred. Do we have any additional suggestions from committee? Are there any public comments?
This is the moderator. We've opened the Q&A panel. If anyone would like to make a public comment on this item, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen. Type "I would like to make a comment" into the text field and submit that to the panelists. Seeing no requests, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, thank you. Staff, would you like to provide any comments or any comments?
I just want to thank everyone for their suggestions. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you also, Angela. Item number 14, following meeting dates have been selected and scheduled. These are future meeting dates. If you have a conflict with either of the proposed dates, please contact Angela Quadra. Do we have any comment from the committee members? If no comments from committee, do we have any public comments?
This is the moderator. We've again opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a comment on this item, please click on that Q&A icon on your screen. Type "I would like to make a comment" into the text field and submit that to the panelists. And seeing no requests, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Angela. That is the end of our agenda items. This meeting is now adjourned at 11:18 a.m.